Awesome extensions play this beautiful open sound. How to add the ninth chord and extension to your playing. Using the ninth in your playing is a great asset to control. The ninth gives you more target notes in the chord and makes the sound of the chord much more exciting. Exchanging the root for the ninth gives you this great open sound waiting for more. A very nice option in your improvisation. In this video I take you through how to add the ninth to the chord and your playing. In this tutorial, what is the ninth? Passing note or extension, the ninth on the chords, the ninth in the scale, 12 jazz licks using the ninth. Hi there, I'm Søren and welcome to Søren Ballegaard's saxophone lessons. It's great to see you here again on my channel. Get much more info on saxophone and improvisation by subscribing and hitting the like button. Every week a new tutorial out. More on great open ninth sound. What is the ninth? Just number 2? The ninth is number 9 in the scale. When you look at a major scale, you have 7 different notes. We give them a number from 1 to 7. Then we can easily identify them and compare them to other scales. It does not matter what major scale you use, it's always 1 to 7. Here's the major scale of G. 1 to 7. For every step in any scale, you can extend the scale with another 7-tone scale. In this example, I've taken the C major scale and extending every tone with this other 7-note scale. 7-note scales on all steps. We can take any of these steps. Here, for example, the step 3. And then we have a new scale. The scale is still a part of the major scale, which we used in the beginning, the C major scale. When we continue the scale, we get the number 8. The root, or the 1. The 8 becomes the ninth. Or the 2. That beautiful D. In this scale we have 2 Ds. One of the Ds is called the 2 and one is called the ninth. The ninth is an extension in the scale which is common above the 7 notes. The ninth is seen as a chord note on equal level as the other chord notes fitting any chord in the scale. More over chords later. The 2 is a part of the basic 7-note scale in the beginning. That's why it's a 2 and that's why the other one is a 9. The 2 I use when I describe a part of the scale of a scale run in which I do not see the 2 as an extension. The ninth is an extension, the 2 is a part of the scale. The 2 is more a passing note between the 1 and the 3 in this example. When I play the 2 in this example, it's not an important role. The ninth in this example is an extension to the scale and the chord. I'm playing towards the 9, you can see. So I'm running towards this and it's very important that I hit that note. In this run, ninth is not a part of the scale movement, but act as a target note on equal foot with the other notes in the chord. This is a C major run. If you want more information on scales, you can check the links I have put in the description. I have analyzed and recognized the 251. There's a lot of information on scales. Passing tone or extension. The ninth you can use in all scales and chords. The function of the 9 or the 2 in some cases is of course different. When looking at the ninth as a 2, the D in this case, we see it as a passing tone. The passing tone is a tone helping to glue a line together which does not have the most important role in the line. The 2 is not the most important role, it's just glue. The passing tone you can use to get more important chord notes out. For example, a row of notes from the root to the 5th here on the C major chord. The 2 and the 4 here are passing tones. The D and the F. I'm only using these notes to get the 1, 3 and the 5 out and putting the 2 and the 4 in as passing notes. In this line it's the same case. The line is moving within the 7 basic scale notes and emphasizing the chord tones of the C major chord. From the 7th to the 3rd on the scale, whereas the 1 and 2 are passing tones. The last part from the 7th to the 5th, where we have the 6th, we're just using this as a passing tone. Looking at the 9th as an extension, we have the sound which can stand alone in a chord or scale. When a 9 is added to the chord, I consider this note as equal as the basic chord tones 1, 3, 5, 7. On this C major 9 I have put the C in brackets. This gives me the upper structure E, G, B, D 3, 5, 7, 9. In this case I use the 9th as the 9th is an equal chord tone to the rest of the chord tones. Also in this case, where the D is treated as an important chord tone and a target note, the D is a 9, both high and low. The high D and the low D is a 9th, not a 2. Starting on the high 9th, running down the arpeggio. The last part of the line, from the E I use a scale run E, D, C, B. There I treat the D as the 2 because it's a passing tone. The top note is a D because that's a target note in the chord, that's a chord tone. But the second D, the low D, is a passing tone because it's part of the scale and not an important target note. The 9th on chords. Using the 9th as a sound in a solo gives you an extension of the root. The 9th gives you a very open sound. For example, in this blues. You get this almost non-earthly sound. Of course, used in a jazz context, you get much more substance instead of this one note that just sounds out of there. But compare this to the root. Try to play the root through this and then try to play the 9th through the form. It's a world different. The 9th is a great note to use to lead towards the root or to use as an exchange of the root. In these two lines you hear very much difference. The only change is I end on the root in the first line, I end on the 9th in the second line. The first line is sounding a little bit tame. That's the end, that's it, nothing more there. But what I told you about the 9th, it wants to give you more. You are needing more when you play the 9th. You want this exciting open sound. The possibilities on chords are many when you want to pull out the 9th. If you play the 9th chord up, you get a great sound. You get this fairly long chord structure. The 9 chords have 5 notes in it. In the 9th chord you have 2 7 chords. A G7 chord, G, B, D, F, 1, 3, 5, 7 in the scale. And a B half diminished 7 chord, the B, D, F, A, 3, 5, 7, 9. The B half diminished with the 9 on top is a great structure to really get that 9th sound out. In general, you have an upper structure 7th chord on the 3rd of any 9th chord. This chord will bring out the 9 very, very nicely. In this chord, on the C major 9, you begin on the 9th, and instead of playing the full chord down to the root, you add the 9th instead of the root at the end. I'm substituting the root for the 9th. Check the video on how to add chords to your playing. Check the video in the description. The 9th in the scales. When I'm using the 9th in the scale, I sometimes refer to this as a 2. This is because of the earlier mentioned target note of the chords you are playing over. Looking at different simple scale runs, which includes the 9th, makes this clear. In this run in the G7 chord, I play from the 7th, the F, to the B, the 3rd, adding the G and the F behind. The clear target notes are the F and the B, the 7th and the 3rd of the G7, and the A is not a 9th, it's not an extension, it's just a passing tone helping me to get from the F to the B. Here you see the A as the 9th. The use is clearly as a target note. I'm going directly towards this A, and hitting this is the most upper note of the line, so I have to emphasize this. It's definitely 9 in this line on this G9 chord. A really nice way to use the 9s, the 2, is this small scale part. On the G7 I play from the 7th till the 3rd. You get this sound where all the scale notes are target notes too. You get the F, the 7th, the root, the G, the A, the 9th, and the B, the 3rd, all target notes in the chord. But you get them as a scale. This makes it a very, very strong sound. In comparison to other parts of the scale, here the 3rd to the 5th on the G7, where the C is a passing tone and absolutely not a target note. Want much more on scales in jazz? Check the links in the description. This is how to play music while practicing your scales. 12 jazz licks using the 9th. When specifically using the 9th in a jazz lick, I aim to either use the 9th as a target note in a chord note solo, or as a part of the scale where the 9th is also the 2. Here on a D minor 9 chord, going up the D minor arpeggio and running down the scale and chord. Adding a chromatic approach note before the D minor 9 arpeggio, and at the top I'm just turning to move down. Great use of the 9 as a target note up there. From the 9th I play down the D minor scale and chord. At the bottom adding the 9th as a 2, as a passing note between the F and the D. And maybe I could think as a resolve to the F, maybe on a G7 chord in the next bar, which we don't see. For example, on a G7. Starting on the 9th of the D minor chord, running down the F major chord, the upper structure of the D minor 9 chord, and then running down the D minor 7 chord. Running up the D minor 9 scale from the 5th, thinking A minor over the D minor 9. Then going down the F major upper structure chord of the D minor 9. Going to G7, going up the earlier mentioned 7, 1, 2, 3 and down the bebop scale, G, G flat and F. Here I'm using the 9th as a passing tone between the F and the B. And then I'm using this little part bebop. Running up the scale from the third of the G7, the B, to the A, skipping down to the F. Running up that scale, just using scale notes. And then skipping down to the F. The A is definitely a target note. It's a ninth. Thinking D minor over G7, running up to the A in the scale, running up to that ninth in the scale from the D. Again, running down the D minor sound, A, F, E, D on G9. G7, but thinking D minor over G7. 1. Encircling the A on the third beat of the bar, then running down the B7 half diminished upper structure of the G7. Very much taking out and emphasizing the A with the encircling of this tone. And you get this great open sound, not touching the G, but only playing with the A sound, not going towards the G. Reducing the G as a passing tone to the A. C major 9. Using a chromatic approach note to the upper structure of the C major 9, the E minor 7 chord. Going up the E minor chord with the chromatic passing tone up to the ninth, the D of the C major chord, and then running down the C major 9 scale. The ninth is definitely a target note and definitely a 9, not a 2. Down the E minor 7 chord, again the upper structure of C major 9, adding approach note C, A, B, A, leading strongly towards the G, which might appear in the next bar. The 9 is a 9 because it's a part of the chord note, it's not a passing tone. Down the E minor 7 arpeggio, part of the C major 9, playing the 9, skipping down to the 7th, the B, leading to the 9th, again the D. So you have 3 Ds here, and I would say they're all 9th. You can maybe doubt that D on the third beat, where you are using it as a passing tone, but because it's on the third beat, it's a strong beat in the bar, so I would call that a 9. Leading towards the B with a chromatic approach note, playing up the 9th in the arpeggio, leading to the B, then running down the arpeggio, ending on the 9th. A lot of 9th in this. It's all target notes, all hitting those chord notes, so the D is a 9th in this run. Your questions are really welcome. If you're wondering about stuff I mentioned in this tutorial, let me know in the comments. Like, subscribes and shares are of course always welcome. All links mentioned in this video is available in the description below. Thank you very much. Play music. Have fun.